Big wheels rolling, moving on. Big wheels rolling, I gotta keep them going. Big wheels rolling, moving on. The white line is a lifeline to a nation. And men like Will and Sonny make it move. Living like a gypsy, always on the go, and doing what they best know how to do. Jamming gears has got to be your fever, 'cause men become addicted to the grind. It takes a special breed to be a truck driving man, and a steady hand to hold that load behind. Big wheels rolling, big wheels rolling, moving on. Big wheels rolling, I gotta keep on going. Big wheels rolling, moving on.
What's up, everybody? Y'all know we got a little Tony Justice welcoming us in. Yes, Snorlord, I will. I forgot. So thank you for reminding me. I will send that to you as soon as I'm done here. Let's see who we got in here. Stu Manchu, what's going on? Good evening, sir. Food Mooch, Chicken Trucker, that's right. Hey, look, let me show you. Look, there's the bag, ready to go to the garbage. She's done for the night. We done emptied her out. Finished it off. CPAP machine. It's me, Gary. What's going on? Kaislin. Who needs a clutch? Just float or slam it. Well, buddy, we've been doing that for about 4 days now. Hey, don't forget, yeah, I got that. James Kinman, what's going on? Michael P, up in the house. So, yeah, clutch time. That's a fun time, right? Fun times. CPAP, that's what, never mind. Some trucks have clutches with transmissions that you have to shift. I seen that Food Mooch get automated. I'm not opposed to it. Light Bright, what's going on? I'm not opposed. I'm not one of these people. I'll replace it for all you can eat barbecue. I'm not one of these people who's, oh, look at me, I'm never driving automatic. I've driven automatic. I've driven automatic, didn't have a problem with them. So, you know, I'm not one of those people that is all anti-automatic, you know. This truck I have right now just doesn't have one. I was indifferent when I bought this truck, either way. And now we need a clutch. We've been going since Friday with no clutch brake, and tried to have an adjustment. Yeah, occasionally, not like that. I've got a 13 in here. But we've been going since Friday without the ability pretty much to get it into gear from neutral if it's stopped in that idle. When you're rolling, you know, it's fine. I don't use the clutch anyway, so I can float them around and float it into first before I come to a stop. That's not a big deal. You just sit there and hold the clutch down to the red light turns, or you can leave off from the stop sign. That's no big deal. But at a shipper, receiver, you know, waiting in line for a shipper, receiver, that's when it becomes a little bit of a more of a pain in the butt. A lot of shutting the truck off to get it to get in gear and then crank it back up to go. But anyway, so that's what we're dealing with. We're going to be home tomorrow. Dude, Sorry, I was watching a spread axle flatbed turn out of the parking spot. So sharp he about pulled his tires off his rim. But whatever, that's on him. Food Mooch says automatics are good in heavy traffic. Yes. That is true. No, it wasn't a Swift. I'm parked. I'm at truck stop. I'm not really sure what that dude is doing because he is over there very, very close to another truck now. He pulled out of the parking spot beside me and just went to the row over. I don't get it, but whatever. Big Rig Radio Network, what's all this clutch talk about? Oh yeah, we're gonna spend some money and get clutch. Dude is gonna take the mirror off that truck over there if he ain't careful. I don't know what he's doing. Whatever. Keith James, what's going on? Kaislin says he feels like he has more control on hills with a manual. Well, that's kind of true, you know. Because you do dictate, you know, when you shift down, you know, how long you let the motor hunt down. So that's true, you know. Especially, I like a 13-speed for the hills because you don't have to let the motor bog down so far before you can drop a gear. And you can kind of keep it in the sweet spot for the whatever particular motor you have. More control when it's parked, huh? Food Mooch, it's gonna be about $3,000. About $3,000 for new clutch brake, new pilot bearing, and having the flywheel resurfaced, machined, and of course the labor. So about $3,000, which in the scheme of things is not all that bad. I was in Iowa when it started to act up last Friday, and had a load going over to Vandalia, Ohio that I delivered Saturday, and reloaded at the same place, going just a little short one down to Louisville, Kentucky for Sunday night. And so I stopped at the Petro on my way to Vandalia Saturday morning and had them look at it, thinking maybe it could be adjusted because the clutch seemed to be working fine as far as pulling, not binding, it wasn't slipping. I was simply having a clutch brake issue. And so I thought maybe there might be some adjustment that could be done to try to help fix that. Well, they said that the clutch wasn't out of adjustment and that the only thing they could think was the clutch brake itself was worn out. And they were really nice. That was at the Petro in New Paris, Ohio, right there, the last Indiana exit on I-70 before you hit Ohio. And so I went in there. They were super nice. I had to wait a little bit, but I wasn't in a hurry because I got there like at 9 in the morning and I only had like 30 minutes to go for a 3 p.m. appointment. So I wasn't in a huge hurry. And it took a little bit longer than they said it would take to get me in. And the fact that they weren't able to adjust my clutch. Rebel Trucker, what's going on? The fact they weren't able to adjust it, they didn't even charge me. You know, they brought me in the shop. He looked at it, you know, which in order to look, you've got to pull the access plate down. He looked at the clutch, said it wasn't out of adjustment, and that there was no adjustment for the clutch brake, and that he felt like I just had a bad clutch brake. And then they didn't charge me. So anyway, but I kind of still wanted another opinion. Because sometimes the guys at the Petros and the TAs, they might not be fully certified or whatever. I don't know how to say that without offending anybody, but, you know, it is what it is. So, made my delivery in Louisville Sunday, and I didn't have a load booked for Monday yet. So I just kind of made the decision to take Monday off and find a dealer, a real deal dealer, to get the truck in and have it inspected. I'm not sure what you're saying there, Benjamin. Do feel like in reality can be two different things. Okay. Snorlord, yep. Snorlord had a clutch. Kayslin's over there in mountain country pooping his pants. And Food Mooch is sending Rebel Trucker for a drug test. But, so anyway, I took Monday off and got the truck in. I called around Louisville and Jeffersonville, Indiana, to all the dealers up there, and the only people that could get me in was the Mack Volvo dealer. But you know, at the end of the day, it's an Eaton Fuller transmission. Every truck brand out here, no matter what it is, they put that's right, Benjamin Duke. That's right. It's not a big deal. So all the truck brands, they use Eaton Fuller transmissions. Some just more than others. But anyway, most all your big dealers, they've got somebody that knows how to work on those. So the Volvo Mack dealer there in New Albany, or I call it Jeffersonville, exit 9 in Indiana, they could get me in. So I went over there yesterday, and it was a real nice guy. You could just tell. You know how, I mean, it's, in my mind anyway, you can talk to a mechanic, and either they are a really good bullshitter, or they know what they're doing, or they don't know what they're doing. And you can kind of get that vibe off of them. And it might be that you're reading somebody wrong, but this guy seemed like he knew what he was doing. And he pulled the truck in the shop. He got under there and looked at it, and he told me he came out right away, and he looked at it. After he looked at it, he came out right away. He's like, man, I'm going to try to adjust it if I can, get something out of it. He said, but all of the springs, you know, I guess as the clutch wears and thins down, the springs steadily push themselves out. I'm not claiming to be very, very knowledgeable at all about how a clutch actually works. I don't know. But he said there's not any real adjustment left, it doesn't look like. And that's going to be the issue. So anyway, he got it a little bit better. He got it to where the clutch brake might work 2 or 3 times out of 10 now, where it was maybe working once out of 10 before he did that. And that just told me that I needed to head home. They gave me a quote. They were quite a bit higher than the Peterbilt dealer at home, and they couldn't get me in the shop for that repair until Wednesday or Thursday, which is what my Peterbilt dealer at home told me, that if I got down there tomorrow, being Wednesday, that they could probably have me done by the end of the week, and about $900 cheaper. So we'll run a load down. The truck's still driving okay. We still have a clutch brake issue, but it's pulling fine. And I've got a heavy load on now, and it's not got any slipping going on. So, you know, we'll get this load down to the house, and we made a payday and about $800 or $900 cheaper on the repair. So that's a win-win to me. And hopefully they get it done by the weekend, and then we'll roll back out. While they're in there, maybe you can have them check the blow-by. Kaislin, what you talking about? You don't check blow-by at the clutch? At least I ain't never heard of you checking the blow-by at the clutch. Food Mooch says Rockwell transmissions are outdated and not used much. Yeah. I don't know the last time I saw a Rockwell transmission. I've driven trucks with Eaton Fullers, and then I've driven trucks with what was the other brand that I drove one time? It wasn't very long. Golly. It was a Man, I keep wanting to say, no, that's not. I can't think of it now. But there was another transmission brand that I drove in a rental truck one time, an old 90-something model FLD. I worked for Coca-Cola, and they had an old FLD that had a, I want to say Meritor, but I'm not sure if that's right. I'm not sure. Rebel says they're here and they're getting rid of DEF System 21. There's scuttlebutt about California who was pushing for DEF, that they're not very happy with it now because of killing bees and killing trees and stuff. But I don't know if there's been anything said that they're definitely going to do away with it. Kaitlin says no. DEF is not an issue on newer trucks. They're a lot better than they used to be. That's true. Benjamin Duke retracted. What are we talking about? Flywheel. Okay. Yeah, they're going to resurface the flywheel. While they're saying they're under there already. Craig Welch, what's going on? He's seen a really nice W900 in Joplin. I bet you did, buddy. I bet you did. I think there's several nice W900s in Joplin. And Kaislin, they know they're about to hit your wallet. Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, you know, the Peterbilt dealer at home, he came in about $900 cheaper than the dealer up there in Indiana. And I called another dealer where I live. They are a Kenworth Mack dealer, and they were about $700 more than the Peterbilt place. But the difference was not in parts. The parts were almost identical because, you know, a Kenworth dealer can get Eaton Fuller parts just like a Peterbilt dealer can for probably the same price. Juan, what's going on? The difference is the Peterbilt dealer charges less per labor. Their labor rate is lower than what the other dealer is and what the dealer in Indiana was charging. So that's where they're saving me the money. However you want to look at it. Saving me the money. Still costs $3,000. But anyway. So we're going to give them the business. Oh, and Kaizen on the blow-by. I don't know. I mean, I guess I could have them check blow-by. But with the amount of miles that's on the engine, I'm doing a 20,000 mile PM interval, which is what Cummins recommends for my 2012 model. And after 20,000 miles, it is still dead on the full. It doesn't leak or burn a drop. If it does, you can't notice it by the dipstick level. So if it's got blow-by, it can't be very much, I wouldn't think. Down about a week. Just get Jeff to send him a combat check. You can get some home time. That's an estimate. I'll be about 400 more. Just don't be surprised. Juan, what's going on? I'm gonna give up this Pete for about 2 or 3 days. Let them put a clutch in it. We need a clutch. But that's about it. That's about it. She might go down the road at another point, but I don't know. She might. I'm not married to this truck. Just a tool. A tool that I use to make money. It'll get replaced at some point. I don't know when. I thought very heavily about replacing it very soon, to the point that I had my bank ready to give me a check for a brand new one. And I decided to kind of hold off on that for now. That is a healthy payment every month to have to stroke out a check for. That is a healthy payment on a new truck. So, no, we're not adding a gallon of oil a week, Kaislyn. No way. I don't add any oil. I've got, I do a gallon of Lucas when I do a PM, and so I leave out. That's right, Ben. That's right. I leave out of the PM from Speedco or whoever does my PMs. I leave out of there toting a gallon of oil because, you know, I pay for the Lucas. So they give me a gallon of oil. And I've got like 3 or 4 gallons of oil back there under the bed from all my PMs. I need to get them out and take them home. But I don't ever add a drop. So, you know, with 530,000 miles, to me, that's pretty good to not be needing a drop of oil after 20,000 miles. I know my old Freightliner. I used to have a Freightliner Classic. It was an 01 model. And it had the old Series 60 Detroit in it. Now, that was a good engine. Just about couldn't kill it. But even that engine, it would burn off about, 3 quarts or so, maybe, between services. But, you know, it still pulled fine. That was back in the old blow-by tubes hanging out. You know, when you had all that smoke rolling out the bottom of the truck. And that was the old school days. Juan, I don't know where Roscoe is. He's probably asleep. You know, it's after 6 o'clock at night, so he's probably already asleep. I'm hoping, Kaislyn. I'm hoping. That's right, Ben. Yeah, I guess I need to. I say all the time, you know, that I get the gallon of oil to walk out with because I get the gallon of Lucas, and I say, well, you know, that's my oil for my PMs. I mean, my PM on my APU. But honestly, my APU doesn't take a PM that fast, so I've ended up with a couple extra gallons. So I guess we'll rock on here for a while, and there'll be a time when I got enough oil that I can just go in and say, here's all my oil. I got it all ready from you. It's in all these jugs. Just pour this in. So, you know, that might come around. I used to use it for my pickup. I had an old Ford Dually, and it had the old Power Stroke in it, and I would use it for that oil change. But I don't have that truck anymore. So, you know, I don't have a use for it at home anymore. I guess I could maybe give it to my brother. He's got a diesel. I got 2 brothers with diesel pickups. Maybe I can just give them the oil. Michael P. says, do you like the new Max Jeff was looking at? Yeah, I do like the new Max. I went, you know, I live in a small town. I say small town. It's not that small of a town where I live. And, I mean, I guess it's all in the realm of what you consider small. We're not a one red light town, but we're not, you know, I guess if you measure it in how many Walmarts do you have, we got 2. We got 2 Walmarts and 4 or 5 McDonald's. So however you want to determine how big a town I got. But we've got a Mack Volvo dealer, not a Mack Volvo, a Mack Kenworth dealer at home. And I went there about a month ago and looked at a new Mack Anthem. And yes, Kaislyn, I know you determine how big the town is on population. I understand that. I guess I didn't just say it right. That's right. 500 people, small town. That's right. But Anyway, we're kind of a small town, and the Volvo. Why do I keep saying Volvo? The Mack Kenworth dealer. I keep saying Volvo because Max and Volvo is usually tied together. But anyway, went down there and looked at the Mack, and I like the Mack, and it's mostly a Volvo, like Jeff was saying in his video. It's mostly a Volvo. Even that MP8 engine, it's the long block is a D13 Volvo engine. The head down, you know, there's some computer parts that are different, some minor parts that are different. I think the turbo is different, but it's mostly a Volvo. That's right, Kaislyn. I agree. They suck on fuel though. So, I like the new Max. Yeah, that's a pretty small town there, Rebel Trucker. That's a pretty small town. But I don't know if I don't know what kind of a new truck I'd be looking at. I'm not the Cascadia guy. I had a Cascadia lease truck, and I drove company Cascadia for 3 years when I was with my private fleet. The private fleet I worked for, they had Cascadia trucks. I'm not the person who ever says never, but that would probably be on the bottom of my list. That and maybe a ProStar. And no offense to people with ProStars, it's just not my forte. I'm just not a fan. There's a truck for everybody, and Cascadia and a ProStar is just not for me. I mean, if I had to, would I drive one? Absolutely. If that was all I could get, and that's what it was, well, you know what? I'm going to go make money with that thing. But if I've got a choice, it's probably not going to be one of those two. I like the 579 Pete, the newer model, the more aerodynamic than my current truck. They're supposed to get pretty good fuel mileage. I like those. I like the new Max. I like the T680s. The T680, they're more and more of those on the road. It's starting to kind of be more like a fleet truck. I mean, obviously Cascadia is the overwhelming majority of what's on the road, but I'm not sure. Never know. It might be a W900. But, I'm not in a super big rush to do anything. Truck wise, we're gonna put a clutch in this truck, and we're gonna roll down the road, and we'll just play it by ear. I'm not in a rush to do anything. I'm not in a position where I have to, and now I know that I have a bank that's ready to play ball when I want to play ball. So I'm gonna wait and make a smart decision rather than a hasty one, because usually those end up being bad decisions. Well, those people on the IC board are running for $1.33 as a good load, because when you're on the IC board, you don't have much choice. You kind of have to take what you can get, and it's the same thing in the spot market. You take what you can get, because at the end of the day, if you don't take what you can get, I guess you'll sit. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you've got the ability to sit, well, then sit. But, you know, I'm at a position where I already don't get all that great of fuel mileage. And there's been several versions of the Cummins engine since the current one that I have, to where the newest versions get substantially better fuel mileage than the engine I have. And to the point that most likely any truck is going to get better fuel mileage than the one I'm driving. It wouldn't be hard to beat this truck. So it would kind of maybe be a wash on fuel mileage. If I gave up some of the aerodynamics that I have with this truck, but gained a much more efficient engine, then it would maybe be a wash. Maybe I might even do better still than I do now, but it would definitely be a wash. And a wash is fine, because I'm making fine money with the current fuel mileage I get. It does suck. My fuel mileage sucks, but I'm making good money. Kayslin's parked in the T680. The 12 trucks to my left of me are all T680s. Yeah, there you go, Kayslin. That's right. Most people I keep up with average 7.5 to 8.5. The ones getting 9 to 10 have spent $4,000 to $8,000 for extra aero stuff. Yeah, see, Ben, I'm not that guy. When Jeff ran my miles and my gallons for the last quarter, which is a very accurate representation because it uses ELD miles, so that's very, very accurate. And of course he has all the gallons of fuel that I bought. My mileage came out at 6.3, I believe, 6.25 for the quarter. So that's not a high bar to clear, you know. I'll be the first one to tell you, some of that's me, because I'm not the 62 miles an hour in the right lane guy. That ain't me. So part of that 6.25 is my right foot. But part of it is the old Cummins engine and the technology that's in this truck. So also part of it is I don't have a super fuel efficient rear end. I've got 342s in this truck, which make it pull better, but I turn a lot of RPM going down the road. I'm over 1,500 RPM going 70 miles an hour. So that's just, it's not going to be a super fuel efficient truck. Unless you run 60 miles an hour everywhere, and I'm not the guy that's going to do that. So, you know, we're gonna get 6.234 miles per gallon with this truck, and that's okay. We make plenty of money on the spot market to compensate for that, and you know, it is what it is. I have 6 miles of the gallon built in as part of my cost per mile at 6 miles a gallon. So as long as I'm running for above my minimum at 6 miles a gallon, it is what it is. Kayslin averages 8.0 to 10, depends on how I drive, averaging 68 miles an hour. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. What kind of motor's in that T680? You got a Cummins or you got the Packard? Thomas Wilson, what's going on? Oh, not much. You ain't missed much. Just me jibber-jabbering. I got to put a clutch in this truck. We're going home to put a clutch in. But other than that, we just jibber-jabbering away like I always do. That's about it. Talking fuel mileage and yeah, there you go, Kayslin. Got the X15 Cummins. I would imagine that's probably the efficiency series that's in that truck. And it's probably somewhere, what do you have? Probably 400 or 425 horse, maybe 450. Thomas, it's 525 on the clutch. 59 miles an hour. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. 59 miles an hour is only happening on the 2 lanes. Yep, yep. So, it is what it is, though. You have to just bear that in mind. Big Rich, he was talking the other night about being competitive. And that creates an issue for me, maybe, as far as being competitive. But, probably, yeah, 308 is a common number. 308s, 450 with 308 rear ends. That's a good fuel economy setup. Now, she might not pull the hills all that great, but at the end of the day, that's going to be a good fuel economy setup there, Kaislyn. That's why you're getting such good fuel mileage. I just know my cost. That's right, Ben. That's right. It's all in how you do things, and knowing what your fuel mileage is allows you to know your cost per mile on your fuel. And of course, the fuel price fluctuates, but you can estimate it. And you just have to build that into what you need to get to run. And yeah, because my fuel mileage is lower, yes, that means that my fuel cost is higher, which raises my rate that I need over some other people. And I know that. But at the end of the day, as long as I'm able to make the living I need to make, fuel cost isn't the end of the world. It's not. I mean, is it better to save money on fuel and put more money in your pocket? Obviously, that's a given. But it's not the end of the world. Depends on what you want to haul and where as well. No, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I mean, if you're somebody who runs west a lot with the higher speeds, obviously you need I've talked about this with Roscoe because his truck is very, very high geared. It's high gear. That's a hard thing to say. The number of his gear ratio is very low, meaning he has a very highway-oriented gear ratio because he turns very low RPMs, very, to the point that I think his truck was spec'd to run out west where the speed limits are much higher, like in the Dakotas and Wyoming and Montana and things, to where they could maybe run 80, 85 miles an hour and the RPMs would still be in a good range because his RPMs are very low. I think that's the deal with going on with his truck. So it's all in how you spec a truck based on where you're going to run. And sometimes that's where you get in trouble when you buy a used truck if you don't check things out. Because, let's say you bought a used truck and somebody had spec'd that truck to haul heavy or haul tankers or something like that. And all of a sudden you bought a truck that's got a 390 rear end in it. Oh, Lord, you're going to go broke in today's market with a 390 rear end trying to run the highway. Because you're going to be turning some RPM. You're going to have to run 60 miles an hour. So you kind of got to watch what you buy in. That goes without saying. But smart people spec their trucks to match what they're doing. Now that can always change, so it might bite you in the butt if you get a truck that's very specific to what you're doing, because it's a possibility you might have to change what you're doing before that truck is used up and gone. And then you're stuck with a truck that is specific for one thing and you're not doing that anymore. So there's always that. But, I don't really see myself doing anything other than dry box type work. I'm not getting back into flatbedding unless I just, there again, you never say never. Never say never. I don't see myself going back into flatbedding. I feel like that part of my career is over and done with. I had the fun. I got the shirt. I don't care to go back. But you never know. I guess you never say never, right? Same thing with refrigerated. I don't see myself ever doing that again. Been there, got the shirt. But, I guess anything could happen. But if you build a truck, if you spec a truck for general dry freight hauling, general dry van work, it's going to be okay, suitable for other things. You know, it would pull a reefer no problem. That's pretty much the same thing. And for the most part, it would pull a flatbed no problem. Yeah, they are plentiful, Kaislyn. There's plenty of reefer loads out there, which there's plenty of van freight out there. It's just the thing that has happened with the market, as far as, you know, everybody thinking, oh my gosh, the loads are not there right now. Well, right now there might be 3 or 4 or 5 loads per truck, where there in a month ago there was 10 or 15 loads. And so it's not like there's no freight to be had right now. It's just a little bit less than it was. And people are freaking out. You know, it's just this time of year. It's every year this time, things slow down a little bit. Corporations slow down a little bit. People's fiscal year slows down. There's no season right now. There's no seasonal freight right now running. You know, summer, all the companies that bought all their summer stuff, summer's coming to an end. But it's too far to Thanksgiving yet. Thanksgiving's not driving the market yet. You know? So we're kind of in a lull right now. There's nothing driving the extra freight. It's just the normal stuff. And you know, a couple of weeks go by and it'll start picking back up. That's how it does every single year. You know, the last couple of years I haven't been in the market to know the trends from the last few years, but the years that I was at Landstar, it's the same exact thing. 355 rears and a 13 speed, you're probably going to be, I've got 342s in a 13 speed, and I'm like 1520 or 1530 at 70 miles an hour. So with going to a 355, you would probably be 1600, maybe a little higher at 70. You know, it's just 355 is going to be a little bit more of a pulling gear than my 342s. So you're going to pull better, you know, be able to pull the hills better, but you're not going to get the fuel mileage compared to a 342 or a 336 or a 325, because you're just turning more RPM. 13 speed with overdrive should be running in 12th at 1400. I don't know what gear ratio you're talking about, but my truck, shoot, at what speed? See, there's a variable you missed there, Kaislyn. What speed you talking about? But I believe the next truck I buy will probably have 336s. Wait a minute, 355s at 60 miles an hour, 1400 in 12th. I don't know, that seems low compared to what I'm doing. Because I've got 342s, 1400, 12th gear, 60. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I haven't ever looked at it at 12th gear at 60. I don't know. $60 seems high for me in 12th gear, I'm thinking. All right, he's got a 97, 12.7, 1550 RPM, 63 miles per hour, 12th gear. 13 mostly useless in his lanes. 97, 12.7, that's Detroit, okay. 1550 at 63 in 12th gear. Oh yeah, I do remember that. I do remember that. Yeah, is that on a Cascadia, Thomas Wilson? 63, 12. I'm still trying to figure this out. 63 miles an hour, 12th gear with a 13 speed. That's 1550. Yeah, maybe that's right. You know, I don't know that I've ever really paid attention to my 12th gear number because I don't really run that going down the highway. You know, 12th gear is just something you shift through. So maybe that's right. Dropped to 57 in 12th? Huh? What are you talking about? What, to get it to 1400 RPM would be 57 miles an hour in 12th gear? Why are we talking about 12th? Why not use 13th? 13th where you're supposed to run if you're trying to get fuel economy and you're going fast enough to do it. I mean, I guess if you're doing 59, I don't know, Benjamin. I don't think it's going to go that far. I mean, we're a long ways from that. The economy would have to take a major downturn to get to that level. I mean, we are a long ways from that. So, yes, Norlord, math is hard. I'm up here wrapping my brain around trying to think about my 12th gear at certain speeds. I don't know that I can contemplate that. Well, yes, Kaislyn, 13th is overdrive. That's the point of it. So if you're going fast enough to get it into overdrive, unless you're lugging, that's kind of where I look at things. Okay, Thomas has a ProStar with a 500 Cummins. Okay. Yeah, check engine light. Yeah, see, now that's... My SCR went bad, and this truck just has a check engine light. It's just a little engine symbol on the Peterbilt. And it had come on and gone out a couple of times, only stayed on like a day or so, and then it finally came back on and stayed on. And that's when I went to Cummins and had them check the code, and it ended up being my SCR. This is 2012. If it starts to smell, go ahead and shift. That's right. When she sounds like she's about to blow up, shift to the next one. When things start rattling and cackalaacking, you went too far. Get the next gear, right? But it got a light show going on out here. Let's see, my loaner truck is a brand spanking new LT with an international motor. It's 72 to 74 miles an hour. It's getting 6.9 miles per gallon, 10-speed auto shift. Ben, do you have a fuel system on it? What kind of 97 model truck are you running, Ben? I know you said you're running a 12.7 Detroit. Is that a DDEC 4 or a 5? I think that's DDEC 4, right? In a 97? Snorlord, that's selective catalyst reduction. That's the DEF side of your emission system. You have your DPF. No, let me take that back. You first have your DOC, which is your dual oxidation catalyst, and then it goes through DPF, which is your diesel particulate filter, and then it goes from there around and gets doused with the DEF, and the SCR, selective catalyst reduction, is where the DEF is injected. That's the last part before it shoots out the pipe. Didn't know this until I got schooled when mine broke, and they explained it fully to me, because I never had really taken the time to know exactly how it worked. And so I was there spending all that money to have it repaired. I felt like I should at least know how it worked to some degree. Okay, got the fast fuel on it. Those 12.7 Detroits, I never had an issue with mine. Now, I blew the turbo on it, but that's not, that's the turbo blowing. I never had a motor issue. That motor was strong. To me, that's one of the best reliable diesel engines in big trucks that I know of. And now there may be some that come along in the years to come that might beat it. I don't know. I kind of tend to doubt it with all the emissions regulations and the way they're having to build them. I kind of tend to doubt it. But, that 12.7 Detroit, you just about couldn't beat it. I enjoyed mine that was in my truck. And, the Series 60. Mine was a 2001 model. It was a DDEC 4, I believe. That's right, Thomas. That's exactly what it means. Big dang money. Lots of money. Back up the Brinks trunk and just scrape it out into the dealership lot there, right? Just dump out the load because you're spending it. That's right. That's exactly what it means. But I'm trying to think. I can't remember if mine... yeah, they're fuel hogs. Fuel hogs. I drove a buddy of mine's truck. Actually, he doesn't live far down the road from where I'm sitting at right now. I'm at the Petro in Dodge City, Alabama. And I remember I was living here working for a buddy of mine when this truck stop was built, and it wasn't a Petro. And I was driving a Peterbilt for him. He had a Pete 379 that I was driving, and it had the 6NZ cat in it. And now let me tell you, that thing would pull any hill. I was pulling flatbed. We were hauling lumber, and it would pull any hill and just get on down the road. But you didn't really pass much truck stops either, because you had to stop and get some fuel. I think about 4.5 or 5 is all that truck got. Now, granted, it was turned wide open, and I was 25, 6. Yeah, 26 years old at the time. So, everywhere I went, it was on the floor. And we didn't get any fuel mileage with that truck. It just blew it right on out the exhaust pipe. It sounded good, too. It had straight pipes on it. It sounded good. I had to listen to them. So we kept it wound up so we could listen. 13 bogs down on any little hill, but if it's flat 71 miles an hour, that's a sweet spot for the motor. 1550. Yeah, now the Detroit Series 60, see, that's what people don't realize now. The older you go back in time, the higher the RPMs needed to be for the engine. That's where they were designed to run. Mainly because that's where everybody ran them, because fuel was cheap when those trucks were new. When that truck that Ben's got was new, fuel was $1 something a gallon. I remember when I got into my first truck owning it in 04, I was jumping up and down when fuel hit $2 a gallon. But trucks were built back then to run more RPM because the motors needed to run more RPM and fuel was cheap. So you ran more RPM. My 01 Model Classic had 373 rear ends, and that was like standard. But a lot of trucks had 390s, 410s. I think Jeff's talked about his old his FLD. It had 390s in it. So that's, the older trucks just ran more RPM because the motor kind of needed to, and fuel was cheap, so you could put those pulling rear ends in and pull the hills good because you weren't worried about the fuel. Kayslin's talking about a 05 model W900L with a cat with a recent overhaul for $49,000. The problem with an 05 model cat is it's going to be the twin turbo Acert, and they are turds. Turds that will break your bank. But anyhow, we're going to get out of here. It's been almost an hour. I just wanted to kind of chit-chat. I'm sitting here at the truck stop. Didn't have anything else better to do, so I figured I'd come on here and talk to y'all. Not that y'all are interested in talking to me. Thomas Wilson's on his way to Birmingham. I'm not far from Birmingham. I'm up in Dodge City. 2000 FLD. Now, there you go. If you got one that's in good shape, that's a good old truck, you know. Not a lot going on with it, you know. It's not a lot to try to fix on it. Simple truck compared to these new ones. At the time, that was a state-of-the-art truck. Not compared to today, but back then, that was a state-of-the-art truck. $21,000 for a 2000 model? Man, it better be in doggone good shape. It better be in doggone good shape for a 2000 model. That truck's, I mean, hell, you can do that math. That's right. That's right. There is a lake not far. Yeah, I was living over here working for my buddy when this place was built. It was just called Dodge City Truck Stop. The parking lot wasn't this big. The shop in the back was not there. And there was no Popeye's chicken. Actually, where the Popeye's is at in this Petro was a barber shop. Okay, so 97 was D-Deck 3. That's what I was thinking. I thought my 01 was a D-Deck 4. So yeah, so 97 is a D-Deck 3, but you've got a D-Deck 4 now, which should have put you to the 500. That put you to the straight 500, 1650? Or do you still have to split the 430 500? Payloads over 30,000, 13 speed is useless. RPM is 14,800, low pull 2,000. I know the D-Deck 3s, I want to say, were the 430, 470s, primarily. They had that split where it was 430 on the foot, 470 on cruise. And I'm thinking the D-Deck 4, I think they did away with that split on most of them, and it was just a straight 500, but I may be wrong. That's been so long ago. I want to say that I remember the settings on mine being just a straight 500, but maybe it still had a split of some kind in it. I'm thinking it was just a straight 500 though, but that was an 01 model, and it was D-Deck 4, because D-Deck 5 was when they came out with the 14 liter. Which, you know, the 14 liter is just a punched out 12.7. It's the same block. Oh, Kaislin, I don't know how you're still running. 103,000? Man, you better count your blessings every night you go to sleep that it's still running. Nah, I'm just joking. Well, yeah, on the 13 speed there, Ben, the 12th gear is direct drive. So you're going to have a better pull in 12th than you would in 13th. And the Series 60 12.7, it should pull pretty good, especially if you've got 355s. Now, 355s is a little bit low for a Series 60, but that's probably on the bottom end for the Series 60. Most of the older trucks back then had a lot higher rear ends, or were geared lower, whichever way you want to say it. They had a higher numbered rear end. But that thing should still pull pretty good. I know that my 01 Classic, it would pull. I felt like it pulled good. I didn't ever feel like I was underpowered. You know, now it wasn't a cat, you know, and you knew that when you got next to a Pete or a Kenworth that had that cat in it, and you can just hear you can hear it running and know it's a cat. And you would know it. You get on a hill pulling heavy, and that cat's going to walk off. That Detroit's never going to be a cat, but that Detroit is cheaper to work on. It's going to get better fuel mileage. Parts are cheaper. The whole nine. Everything is better about a Detroit except for pulling power. I've never been fond of cat. I mean, I like them. They're good engines as far as pulling and strength, but they're not cheap to work on. They're not cheap to own, and they're not cheap to buy. So I was never like a person that was in love with cats back in the day. I like my Detroit just fine. So, but anyway, we're over an hour now. I'm gonna slide out of here. It's almost 10 o'clock my time. And we'll talk at y'all later. We're going to head to the house tomorrow and get a clutch put in this truck. Hopefully we'll be back running Monday. And we'll get back with y'all later. All right? Be safe. Keep the shiny side up and the rubber side down. And we'll see y'all again.